Welcome to Money Making Sense, the show that talks about all things money. I am talking with figure skating extraordinaire, Scott Hamilton. I'm so blessed that he's here. In the last episode, we were talking about, we had finished up with sort of the cost. Like you'd said, hey, I know what my cost is. Well, I'm not sure. So figure skating is sort of the headline sport in the Olympics.
It's not equestrian.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if I buy a pair of boots, it's $1,000.
Yeah. So I
and
actually.
they last me a year.
Yeah. So
you got
I
a
have if my
PowerPoint on that?
clicker.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So So first of all, we've got custom-made boots up to $1,000 a piece. And don't you carry like 2 or 3 with you?
No, I only wear one pair for the year. I'm pretty lame that way. You know, I think a lot of other people like. Nathan Chen will go through a lot of boots. You know, he had like 3 pair at the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I think by the time you're Nathan Chen, you're really not paying for boots anymore.
That's where the sponsorship comes in, right? But then
you get to a certain level, you know, it's like right when you can afford it, you don't have to pay for it anymore.
Right.
Go ahead.
But then those boots, you have to have blades. Yeah. And those can also be up to $1,000 depending, I guess, how much money you want to spend. Like,
well, for me, I can get boots and blades for just if I were to pay for them, a little over $1,000 for both.
So my 8-year-old child saw Nathan Chen and I'm like, that is it. This is the sport for him. And I'm going, I am not mortgaging my house for, first of all, he may outgrow one pair of boots within 6 months, let alone a whole, like keeping it for a whole year. And then, you know, the blades, what if he gets mad and he kicks it and he, you know, bends it or,
well, you're going from 0 to 1,000 in like one push of the pedal here.
Yes.
You kind of, it's like getting into a pool. If you walk into the pool, you're in the shallow end and then you get into the deep end. So let's start in the shallow end.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, where, you know, we're just released a set of boots, which are really transition boots to go from basically basic skills into competitive skating. And what's the price point on those? What's that? $140 boots and blades. So that takes $1,000 and just plummets now, right? Okay. So boots and blades are $140, and you know they're really good quality. They got great support. They're going to get you, you know, make you competitive. You're going to be really skating on quality things. Then it comes down to if you're competing on the senior level internationally, that's where you really get into that. You know, kind of it goes like this. But when you're still getting into the sport, you have. You know, a situation where you're not skating 6 hours a day. You could be skating 2 hours a day. You're not going to be getting an hour lessons a day. You're going to probably be getting a 20-minute lesson every 3rd or 4th day. Okay. So you don't have to dive into this thing where it costs like everything is like equal to an Olympic champion. You can get into it and it builds on itself. But right when you get in, like if you have an 8-year-old and they want to get into the sport, boots are like, you know, mine are about $140, and then your lessons are less expensive because you're with a younger coach and they're bringing you along. So you're not going like into the deep end right away. Right. But by the time you get into the deep end, if you're showing promise, there are funds and there are ways to, you know, help with your expenses.
Even if if you're not a winner yet, because that's one of the things that, especially the United States, like they only consider you, you know, a winner if you're 1, 2, and sometimes 3 is the culture that appears to be. So how much sponsorship and how much funds are going to be available to me if my son actually comes in 7th, 8th, or 9th at their regional or even the U.S. championships?
And that's a situation where, you know, the woman that sponsored me, my parents basically were 2 school teachers. My mom was very sick with cancer. She was going to school at the same time. She was raising a family and teaching. So they had a really tough go. And my dad was a tenured professor of biology at Bowling Green State University. I skated 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night. Then it got to a point where I was showing promise, but I wasn't good enough to make it to the nationals on the novice level. And so they sent me away for 6 months to a skating place in Illinois where I lived in a dorm with other kids, and then I had lessons and had ice time every day. And even back then it was relatively inexpensive, but they didn't have any money. So basically, between all my hospital bills when I was really little and then my skating bills, they were right at the end where they couldn't afford it anymore. So my senior year in high school, it was going to be my last year in skating because then I could go to Bowling Green State University for free because my parents are both professors there, and it would be a great deal. I could get an education, I could live at home, I could do all that. And they were, ready, locked on to do that, and then I had a great year. Just something clicked, and I won the junior national title, which I caught the eye of a coach who found me a sponsor, and so I never had to pay for anything my last 8 years of competitive skating.
Okay.
So there's that when you're showing promise, and there's a coach and they have access to, sometimes there's investors in rinks, and there's people that really love skating. There was a woman that used to sponsor more of the international skaters. She was a big skating supporter, and some domestically, a lot internationally. My sponsor was only United States. She only wanted kids that, she felt were good people that would appreciate, the leg up. And they didn't all have to be champions. She helped several different skaters. So those people exist. It's not quite a needle in a haystack.
Okay.
It's kind of like a nail in a haystack.
Right.
You can find them. But, sometimes it's almost like you have to be in the right place at the right time. But I'll tell you this. There are ways of skating where you can go into a rink, you can negotiate bulk ice time, where it brings the cost down significantly. You don't have to take an hour lessons every single day, which can be, $1,000 a week, if that's the way you want to go. I was a firm believer in, give me a lesson, give me something to work on, and then we'll come back and I'll work on it again. I've always thought that if you had an hour lessons a day, that was babysitting. That wasn't really getting anything out, because you don't have time to take that in and then really apply it and practice it. So I would get on, especially if you're younger in the sport, or you're trying to hang on financially. You don't need to go into this thing where you have a coach that's on you for an hour a day or 2 hours a day, just looking after every single step you take. Okay. So there are ways of not having to take the full load of it. Again, buy your ice in bulk. Work with coaches that are relatively, they're competent but well priced.
Yeah.
Even because if everything is about going to the big coach, the Olympic coach at the training center, and the this and the that, I'm the first one to say, my coach that took me through 2 Olympics, 4 world championships, and an Olympic gold medal, he never had anybody at that level before. So it's not all about going to that big coach and that, going to the big training center and then throwing everything you can at it. It's more about finding the coach that really you click with, okay, and that can really guide you and help you get to the, to where you want to go.
Okay. Thank you so much. Tell me first, though, your book that you've written.
Yeah, I wrote a book called Finish First, and
Finish First.
The under part of it's called Winning Changes Everything, and it's basically an argument for, like we need one, and a guide to winning, and it's about winning a victorious life. It's about we all have a purpose, we all have talents, we all have things that we can do, and it's really going after those things and doing them with an intention of, using the same principles like you're training for, a big competition or a big event, the Olympics, to train that way every single day in your purpose to live a life like you could never imagine living. And it's extraordinary in the way that it came out, because, we live in a very a different society than the one I grew up in, where you just go out and you fall, you fail, you get up. You fall, you fail, you get up. We live now in a place like we don't want anybody to get hurt. So either we're not going to keep score, or we're going to give everybody the same trophy. And to me, that, even if, like, my son, who is like 12, they were 10-1 in flag football, which means nothing, right? Flag football, had a great season, won the championship, and everybody got the exact same trophy. And it's almost like he felt like that was really unfair. We won, shouldn't we get something special?
Right.
And, I don't have a problem with participation trophies, as much as I really feel like if someone's victorious, they deserve some special recognition.
Right.
And that inspires people to go after something with a little more intention and a little bit more passion and intensity. it's one thing to live our lives extraordinarily and to kind of ask that of ourselves. It's like we all are being given these gifts. How do we leverage them to win at life? So at the end of our time, are we going to say that we really went for it and we had a life of incredible quality, or that we really were engaged and that we lived our days productively and joyfully, or is it going to be where we just sort of like let it get by us? So I see where our society's headed with smartphones and all these things where people are just sort of like they're sort of paralyzed, and we just wrote this book to give people a sense of power and urgency to kind of live their lives victoriously. Do something with your talents. I was just in Korea and for the Olympics, and I met the venue managers. We became really good friends. Great guy, young guy, same, faith, everything was great. And, he basically said how the young people in Korea, they don't have hope, they don't have desire, they don't have passion. And he asked me to speak to his volunteers and his staff. And so I gave an hour-and-a-half long talk to his staff and his volunteers. Yeah. And at the end, a young, she's probably 17, 18, girl came up to me and she goes, "I don't understand what you mean about purpose." And I said, well, we all have something within us that we need to share with the world, a purpose, something that makes us unique and happy, that we can really go out and just try to be really good at. And she said, "I'm not good at anything." And
she was 17.
Yeah. I'm not good at anything. And it was everything that Josh warned me about. And I just, it almost took my breath away. And so I just looked at her and I said, well, let's just break this thing down. What do you like to do? What's something that if you could do anything, you just spend time doing it? And she said, well, I like to read. And I go, oh, what do you read? And she goes, well, my favorites are Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. I go, you like the classics? And she goes, I do. And I just said, maybe you're an author. And her eyes, they went like that. They just like, it was like this jolt. And it was like, it was almost like she never gave herself permission to dream about anything. Yeah. And I said, maybe you should just start writing the way you like to read and just seeing where that takes you. Because obviously you have something in there that needs to come out. And it was like I gave her permission to rise above being squished by her society and by her friends and by everything around her, to be able to maybe dream just a little bit. That's what Finish First is. It's about dreaming about something and now having the permission and the game plan to really figure it out.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
I'm sorry, just the thought that just sort of makes me sad.
I was devastated.
I'm sure.
I got thick in the throat. It's like, how going through life like that?
I cannot imagine it, because I've gone through ups and downs and had different career changes. But I found finally here, for me to help people through money problems or understanding, look, for me, like this talk with you is like, and you're right, like I did jump ahead, like, okay, we're all at the Olympian level, but I want people to understand, like, they need to see where it could go.
Yeah.
Like, you could send your child to, like, I'm going to send my child to your skating academy, because first of all, you're the best, and no matter what.
It's cheap.
It's
cheaper than everybody else.
And it is cheap, and I'm all about the less expensive.
Yeah.
So send them there, but what happens if they turn out to have this wonderful talent, and now all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I got to put all this money, and I didn't know beforehand. So for me, my passion is helping people to understand what can you do with your money, how can you save it, because a lot of times people act like everybody makes $100,000. Oh, just put $10,000 away, and it's like people don't have $10,000 to just put away.
And I do think that there are situations, and I've seen it in certain ranks where if a kid is showing a mountain of talent and they look like their path is really significant, people get behind them. They may offer them a couple freestyle sessions here and there, or they can find a way to get them boots. And with us, I mean, we're trying to make skating sticky and fun. And whatever your goals are, we don't really care. If you want to be a figure skater, great. We're going to teach you how to skate, and you're going to have a great time. If you want to be a recreational skater, we're going to give you the skills to go out and enjoy it no matter what. And if you want to be a hockey player, we're going to give you everything you need to be competitive, the first time you put a stick in your hand. And, wherever it goes from there, there is coaching there, there's ice time there, there's all kinds of things that are available to allow them to take it to the next level and the next level and the next level. But each one of those levels comes with a different level of commitment. But each level that is out there, there are ways of trimming costs, and there are ways of trying to find funding. It's not perfect. It's not always clean. It's not always easy. But you just got to roll up your sleeves and figure it out. And my parents, they threw up the white flag after a while. They said, we just can't do this anymore. And for whatever reason, that year was the first year that I really showed promise. And there were people that really wanted me to continue to skate, and they found the sponsorship money. The reason that I was sponsored was the couple that sponsored me didn't have any children. They were older, and they didn't want me to lose my dream of skating. They loved skating. They didn't want me to lose my dream of skating due to a lack of funds, of which they had plenty. So there are those people out there. Michael Weiss, a national champion skater, his dad taught me how to do a backflip. He's got a skating fund, and they do shows every year, and they build all these, and then skaters come in, and he's able to keep skaters on the ice, just through his fund. I don't know how many millions of dollars he's been able to fund over the year, but he just raises the money and disperses it because he knows what it meant to him to get sponsored. So it's like anything else.
Right.
If you're going to be a golfer, you got to be in a golf club. You got to get equipment. If you're going to be the worst one, though, is whenever I hear anybody getting into equestrian sports, I go, you couldn't find anything more expensive. It's like, you got to get the horse. Oh, it wasn't the right horse. We got to get another horse. It's like, what do you mean? And then. So there's always a bigger fish. Maybe not bigger one than that, but it is. There's all kinds of Olympic sports where all you need is a pair of shoes or a swimsuit. Yep. And then you're good to go. Coaching is coaching, but
and if you're from Africa, you can do it in your bare feet sometimes.
Man, there are those countries like Kenya. I mean, they've got that culture for long distance running like nobody's business. Yeah. And my son, I have a son from Haiti, and he never really played soccer on grass until we brought him home. And my goodness, what he can do is extraordinary. And all they needed was a ball. That's it. Wow. So, there are ways of getting better without having to go all in and just thinking that the more you put out, the better you're going to get. There's ways of doing it effectively and methodically without diving into the deep end all at once.
Great. Oh, thank you so much, Scott Hamilton.
Oh, my pleasure.
You're an author, and you're a broadcaster, and you're an ice skater, and you're an inspirational speaker, and you're just like everything. And I'm so blessed that you were able to come to my studio
I'm
today.
honored to be here. This is great, and I think that the service that you're providing is a good one. I do think, though, that there are ways, that, and you're looking for them, looking for ways to help families, get into sports, like at a high level, but, there are steps to get there. Again, you're getting into the shallow end, and then you're kind of getting a little deeper and deeper, but, you can prepare for those advancements by making good decisions.
I will look for you at the, Beijing Winter Olympics?
Hopefully. I don't know if they're going to bring me back, but
I'll see because I'll be the curler, and you'll be the figure skater announcer. I'll see you there.
I'll have my goofy little hat on with the ball on top and all the tartan and the crazy pants. There's so many crazy pants in that thing. They think figure skaters are wild in their clothing. Curlers have got it down.
That's why I want all the fancy costumes. There you go. Well, Scott Hamilton, again, thank you so much for tuning in to Money Making Sense. You can go to Overcast, ApplePodcast.com, anywhere you get your favorite podcast, subscribe, and you won't miss another episode.